Edward of Woodstock is one of the commanders that we have in Rise of Kingdoms for about 1.5 years. I have max skill Edward of Woodstock the moment he got into the game on the first wheel, got him to 6 star as well, level 60, and I start using him. I want to detail in this video where I still use Edward of Woodstock since 1.5 years is quite a long time passing. I want to give you advice if it's still worth it to invest in Edward of Woodstock and everything there is to know about Edward of Woodstock do an updated version of the previous Commander Spotlight. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Rise of Kingdom video. My name is Legend Ronnie and today is Edward Commander Spotlight version 2.0. I'm gonna talk everything there is to know about Edward. I'm gonna tell you where I still use Edward, show you his time trees. I'm gonna post a couple of cards on the top so I can show some older video of Edward where we were using him in KVK2 and where he was useful. And I'm also gonna post a card on the top about our recent usage for Edward when we took down a Zenobia that was defending a pass with a double rally, and Edward was part of it. So I'm going to detail more throughout this video about Edward and give you an updated version of everything there is to know about Edward. First thing first, real quick, you want to know the stars and you want to know the sculpture that it requires to upgrade legendary commanders, which obviously is pretty expensive to get them maxed out. You also want to know that equipment only applies from the primary commander, which you have it over here. So you're noticing that right now he's not a primary commander. I have my equipment for Sunset Canyon, that's why it doesn't have any equipment. Keeping commanders at 1 star, it helps you a lot because you manage to upgrade their primary skill. For example, Edward or many other commanders, their primary skill is the most important one. After that, if you're interested in his second skill, and in Edward's situation you should be interested, you want to get them to 2nd star and then you can upgrade his second skill after you're done with the first skill. And if you're interested in the third one, you do the same. If you unlock all the 4 star of a commander and you haven't done his first or his primary skill, the skills get allocated random and you might need to expertise a commander in order to get his skills properly done. Talents also only apply from the primary commander, so you want to make sure that you have the correct talents, and I'm going to show you the talents in just a couple of moments, but I want to talk a little bit about his skill. One thing that I have been asked many times, when you click on Edward you see 2500 damage factor. That was the thing that bought me. I'll be very honest. When I saw him coming out and I saw 2500 nuke when his max skill and his primary commander, I was like, that's it. I'm one this guy. He does reduces his rage by 300 whenever an active skills is being used. So that's primary and secondary. But hey, he doesn't have any problems generating rage. I can tell you that because I'm using him for 1.5 years. And a lot of players are asking me, is a 511 Edward really good? And it's not. And then I get the question, as a 5511 Edward, yeah, that's okay, but Edward is those type of commanders that you want to max skill. Because if you get these 2 skills as a 1, you're noticing that you get 5% skill damage bonus and damage to infantry another 1%. So it's not a whole lot. And then getting this one as 1, I would say that this is pretty decent, 15% archer attack. But then you have his expertise, which for 2 seconds after using an active skills, all normal attacks and counter attacks deal 50% increased damage. So that's a pretty significant boost as well. He's one of those commanders that if you want to use him, you want to expertise him. Is he a commander for free to play? No. Low spenders, if you go full archers, then yeah, but I wouldn't recommend him for low spender at this point either. And I would recommend him for medium and high spenders. But like I said, if you're a low spender and you just want to go full archers, like that's your focus, because you just like archer commanders, then yeah, Edward must be a part of your team. And my recommendation, like I said, this, if you want to start as a 5-5, yes, but expertise. That's the only way you can go with Edward. Going on to his talent tree, this is the talent tree that I use when I put any kind of skill damage as a second that is not Tomiris. So for example, if I use an Edward and YSG, or if I go Edward and who else, I'm gonna say a couple of combinations that might sound crazy, but I just heard they work, so I'm just gonna say them in this video as well. Like Edward and Alex, because I was mentioning them anyway. That's a crazy combination too. Or Edward and Ramses. I have seen that it was used on one of the passes, like one of the streams I was watching. So various other combinations. When you want to put anything that is not Tomiris as a second in command, this is the talent tree that you want to use with Edward. And then I have a special one for Tomiris, which is this one. Now, the reason being said, because I've been asked a couple of times, why is this one? When you put Tomiris as a second in command, you can check Tomiris for skill. That's why Edward and Tomiris, they came together in the same time. Tomiris was in the Mightiest Governor and Edward in the Wheel of Fortune. You want to generate skills as slow as possible because you want those 15 stacks from Tomiris, and that way Edward can do a huge and powerful nuke. That's why kind of the best combinations to go with is either with Tomiris or with YSG second to Edward. These are kind of the best pairs that you can go with Edward. And you don't need rejuvenate for that. You don't need to generate rage. You just need to do normal attacks and just slowly generate rage so you can stack the poisons from Tomiris. And this is the time tree for that. The reason I have this time tree is because on my previous live stream when we were doing 1 versus 1 test, I want to bring out Edward on the field, see if it's still worth it. Like if he can still do some 1 versus 1 fights, and surprisingly, he was still doing some punches, and I still managed to win a couple of 1 versus 1 fights, which it kind of surprised me a little bit, and that's what triggered me. Like, hey, I think it's been a while since I've done an update version for Edward, and then I checked on my channel. It was like 1.5 years ago, and I was like, yo, I don't need to talk more about Edward. He's a very amazing archer commander, but like I said, medium to high spender. And the reason I'm saying that is the following. I've also done a video about big and small murder ball that I used on my last KVK. I'll make sure to post a card on the top about that one as well. I hope I'm not gonna run out of cards, to be honest. I use Edward and Tomiris, which is over here. Tomiris as a second in command. That's her fourth skill that I was talking about on the battlefield when is the big murder ball, because it's very less amount of chances that someone will target me, and I know very well how to control my marchers, and nobody wants to get dragged away from the murder ball because you just get demolished. That's in my situation as well. I just don't want to get dragged away, so I use Edward and Tomiris for debuffing purposes, because all my 5 marchers, when it's the huge murder ball, are made of skill damage. And Edward and Tomiris just provides a huge support to my 5 marchers because of the amount of skill damage they can do. That's one. And two, being able to stack Tomiris poison. Because let me detail a little bit more, which has to do with the video I post on the top. Because it takes so long for Edward to do skills, you see the rage requirement 1350. Tomiris will manage to stack 15 poisons before Edward will do his first skill, but my other 4 marchers manage to do a full skill before Edward. So my other 4 marchers, they kind of do a full skill with probably not 15 poisons, but at least 10, 12. So my other 4 marchers are nuking really hard that target, and then it goes Edward, and then Tomiris, and the poisons are consumed, and then my other 4 marchers will pretty much do damage without a buff, but they charge much faster than Edward, so they will do another skill damage before Edward does again. So it's kind of my other 4 marches do 3 rounds of skill damage, while Edward does 2 rounds of skill damage. So I hope that makes sense. And that's why is the slow build when I do Edward with Tomiris, because it just helps my other marches ridiculously high. But when is the smaller murder balls, when people can target him, I just don't bring him out anymore. He just fills my hospital for no reason. And the only archers that I bring out is Artemisia and Ramses when is the smaller murder ball and when people can target my marchers. Just goes down too fast. This 30% health is not as helpful as probably we thought about. And like I was mentioning, if you don't have Tomiris, because a lot of players don't really want to invest in a commander that has a limited utility, because Tomiris kind of has a limited utility just with Edward. You probably seen some garrison with Artemisia and Tomiris being used on a city, but hey, let's face it, that's still a very limited utility for Tomiris. So if you really max Tomiris, you have to max Edward first. And a lot of players just prefer to go Edward and YSG because they don't justify those 690 sculptures to invest on Tomiris or training speed ups. Because, like I said, she's in the mightiest governor. And if that's gonna be the situation, then you can do an Edward and YSG if you really want something more nuking, something more punching when you go on the big murder ball, which I was talking about. Then you can go with Edward and YSG. It will definitely help a lot. There's a lot of AoE, and Edward on a single target will do pretty significant damage. I used them before I got to Miri's max skill. I used Edward and YSG for quite a very long time. But again, when people can target him, they are targeting him because he's just very squishy. He's glass cannon type of commander. This is how I like to call them. Just a lot of nuke, but no defense. Other type of utilities that I have seen for Edward, like I was mentioning, in KVK2, I've heard a lot of players saying that Edward and Alex is doing some waves in rallying objectives. I haven't tested him, or at least not in my KVK, because I don't jump and keep doing KVK2. But that's the reports that I get, that Edward and Alex is doing some amazing work. For reinforcement purposes, I used Edward and El Cid for a long time because they both have quite a high mobility. And considering the new archer commanders that are being introduced into the game, maybe he might have a synergy with Cyrus the Great, because Cyrus the Great has his expertise. After using enough of his skills, archers units led by this commander gain 20% increase attack and defense and gain 50 rage per second. That's for 3 seconds. This effect can trigger at most once every 5 seconds. Now, there is a downfall on that, because once Edward uses his primary skill, he's reducing his rage by 300, and then when second in command he's using, reduces his rage again by 300. So I think this might go away, and you're not going to benefit maybe just 1 second from it, which might be a little bit of a bummer. But like I said, this might be, with the new command, this might be the only synergy that I see between Edward and Cyrus. And I also heard maybe Edward and Artemisia. I've seen some Ark of Osiris rallies, and like I was mentioning, Edward and Ramses, but I didn't see them performing that crazy, and I just don't see a lot of people really using them. I still believe personally that the best synergy that you can have with Edward is either with Tomiris, the slow build that I showed you, or with YSG, and just pump as many skills as possible, do as much damage as possible. That's what he is made for. Now the question is, does it still worth it to invest in Edward? If you care about kills, like you're noticing over here, if you want to get this high number of kills and you have the resources, then you definitely need Edward. Because when it's the big murder balls and people, like I was mentioning, can't target your marchers, or it's pretty hard to do it, Edward and Tomiris plays a very important role to your other 5 marchers. You can probably get a lot of kills with defensive marchers as well, but it will just take a long time. And how many hours can you keep fighting? That's the other question. And the thing is, it's not necessarily about how many hours can you keep fighting. How long will the battlefield last? Right? Because the big murder balls, we all know they just don't last very long. 1, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. After that is going on to the flag fight, and people are getting separated in a couple of sections. It's no longer that huge murder ball. So I would say that in that 1, 2, 3 hours, or how long that big murder ball is, if you want to profit as much as there is, to make as many kills as possible, you need an Edward and Tomiris. Might be useful later on as well when you're pushing and the enemies don't have a lot of marchers, so you don't have to go with defensive marchers. But hey, this is something that you need to assess. You need to do an assessment on the battlefield or how the situation is. He's also amazing on city rallies, because that's the first time I got in love with him. I remember the first city rally I've done, it was an 80 million power player T5, and I think he was the king of K50. And what I saw 140,000 nuke from Edward, and I was like, that's it. This is my boy. This is my boy over here. This is my homie. Edward and YSG, my god, when I saw 140,000, pretty crazy and pretty good archer commander. I don't regret investing in him. Like I said, we still used him. We took down a Zenobia with 2 rallies, and Edward and Tomiris was part of the combination that I used for my rally. If you do have questions about Edward, then you can definitely drop them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them. Until next time, this is your boy Legeroni signing off. Peace out, yo, and take care. See you on the next one, and stay safe out there, my friends. High risks bring you high rewards.